Okay. I felt called to do this video today because this message has come up a bunch in recent conversations with people over and over and over again. And the need for it, need is maybe the wrong word, but the opportunity for it is very strong right now. And so the topic is, as a light worker, how do you serve more or better or wider or something like that? And there's the analogy that's come up multiple different times, and it's interesting because it's almost like these parables, come up in one person, and then they, it's like I'm called to tell them to one person, and then that specific parable asked to be repeated over and over and over and over and over again. So it's nice that I decided to create this YouTube video a couple months ago because I could just record the parables and then just send them out so that it's a bit more universal, I guess, or something. But anyways, the parable that is wanting, well, I guess I should just go, let me explain what I'm talking about first here. So the energy that is being brought up is, as a light worker, as a healer, as a wayshower, as a grid holder, as a starseed, all of the terms. How, so many people are like, okay, I'm ready. What do I do? I don't feel listened to. People still aren't gravitating towards me. What's going on? So I think this is what's going on. So, two things. One of them is let go of all perfection that you have to be a certain way in order to do it. So, here's story number one, which I've maybe explained in a couple other videos, but I'll explain it again. So, there are many, 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 many different levels of the journey towards wholeness, ascension, enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. And each level is the stepping stone for the level that comes next. So every single level is needed. And every single level of awareness, if you want to call it that, has a very small range of resonance. So if you're at this level, you can, have people hear you. You can be inspiring to people that are maybe 1 and 2 levels below you. And you can be inspired by people that are maybe 1 or 2 levels higher. But levels, 5, 6, 7, you don't resonate. And a lot of times and this will resonate if you are a light worker, because people might have this same response to you, is they'll say it'll feel to you, if you are the one not resonating, or if other people aren't resonating with you, it'll feel like you're being quaint, or it's like your information is like, oh, yeah, everything, we all know that, but that doesn't mean anything, or that doesn't resonate yet, because it doesn't resonate yet. They're not there yet. So it just is like words. And so it feels like, yeah, but that's not the real truth. Give me something meatier. What's that? And what they're actually searching for is a couple levels closer to them. Then they can resonate with it. And so then, of course, if you are the one inspiring, you can help a couple levels down, but you can't help anything further. And so the reason why this is very important to understand is a lot of people in the spiritual world feel like they can only be a healer if they're here. I'm not supposed to show that I haven't figured out blank, 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 this, and this. But the thing about that is if you are trying to be here, but your actual resonance is here, meaning that these are the people that you can heal. These are your people. These are the people that you are here to inspire in this moment, and then if you raise higher, it'll be these people. But if you're trying to be here, you're not connecting with anyone because you're not actually here. Just some amount of your words are here. And so in theory, these are the people that you're trying to inspire, but they're not going to hear you because they're not the whole thing with resonance is like full authenticity. It's like it sees right through any amount of a mask. Period. So the whole deeply, deeply huge like point of that part one of this video is honor where you're at completely. If you have figured out, food, I'm not even of the opinion that like you have to change anything to be enlightened, but like, we'll just give this example. Let's say that like you figured out food, but you haven't figured out relationships. Beautiful. Own that you have figured out this and own that you have not figured out this. That spot that you're at equals one particular resonance. And then you will deeply resonate with the people that, also haven't figured out relationships, but have figured out like 1 degree less of food. And they're like, oh my God, you figured out this thing that I'm working on. That's amazing. Tell me everything you know. And then you have your people, and that's how you find your people. Like there's so many spiritual people that are like searching for their tribe and like, I want to help, but I don't know how. No one wants to listen to me. The reason is because you're going after the wrong people. Like you have to be so honest and completely unshamed with where you are at in this moment, like per day it might shift. And that radical authenticity is what resonates with people. Like that's how they find you. That's how you send out your calling, of like, here is my journey of blank, and I haven't even completed it yet, but I'm here. And the people that are on a similar journey, but maybe just a couple steps behind, will be like, hey, you're my person. You've got the information that I need. I want to like gravitate towards you. You are my teacher in this moment. And then when you learn more, as we all do on this journey, your crew, your people that you're inspiring will change because, you are now up enough that, you were like, let's say, I'll give you more examples. Actually, like the best example for all of this, going with this topic I'm talking about right now and the topic that I'm about to talk to, is this deep analogy, you can say. So you can think about it in like the spiritual realm. We're on sort of an emotional journey, emotional spiritual resonance journey. And you can think about that in the same analogy as you can with the intellect, and the intellect's kind of like journey is through school. So you start off in kindergarten, and then you go to first grade, and then you go to second grade, and then on and on and on, and you go to high school, and maybe you go to college, and all of that. So if you take that analogy of like learning, of thought, of school, but you compare it to the spiritual world, a lot of the spiritual world is saying, we're all supposed to be in college, and everything, like kindergarten's awful. Get rid of kindergarten. We're all supposed to be done with this lower levels of energy. But if you think about it from the analogy of school, kindergarten is needed. You can't skip kindergarten or whatever. You can't skip third grade or something, like one of the lower ones. You can't skip it. You learn the alphabet in kindergarten, and you need the alphabet for your entire journey. You don't ever stop needing the alphabet if you're on this like knowledge journey. And then, it builds to this, and it builds to this, and it builds to this. So if you are going with that topic I was just talking about of like where your resonance, if you are a college professor, you are going to be like absolutely incomprehensible to a third grader. You are not resonating with them at all. And if you're a third grader, you have tons of information to share with, second and first and kindergarten, and you can be inspired by, the cool kids of the fourth grade and fifth grade. But like a college person is an entirely different realm for you. It's like there's sort of this mystery, and you're like intimidated and confused by them, but you're not helped by them on an intellectual level. Or we're just talking, for this analogy, intellectual. You might be helped by them emotionally, but that's like a whole other thing. And so in the same way with spirituality, I hope it's making sense. It's sort of it's not as complicated as I'm describing it, but I can't find the right words for it right in this moment. But it's like, if you're in 7th grade, own that you're in 7th grade. Own every last bit of it. And then you can help all of the ones, like to a certain degree of the ones before you, and you can be inspired by certain degrees of the one after you. But if you're in 7th grade and you're trying to pretend that you're in college, everyone's going to resonate with that. They're going to be like, you're not in college. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. And you will feel shame, and they will feel judgment. So it's like, if you're in a spiritual mode and you're like, I'm not supposed to let anyone know I'm not perfect at this yet, or, oh my God, I haven't figured out whatever topic yet, and I'm supposed to have it figured out by now. That's what's messing you up. That's where you're getting stuck. You're putting a should and a hierarchy on all of this. There are different levels, but it's not in any sort of a hierarchy. They're all needed. Every last one of them is needed forever. It's not like we're eventually going to, everyone just starts in 5th grade. Everyone starts in kindergarten. Everyone goes to 1st. Everyone goes to 2nd, on and on and on. And if you're into the past life thing, which most people are, if you're watching my video, there's no goal in this life. You might make it to 3rd grade in this life, and then, you go from kindergarten to 5th next life, and then you go from kindergarten to 7th the next life, or whatever, but it's like everyone starts the most enlightened being possible, still starts any incarnation in kindergarten, because that's the game that we're playing. So exactly the same thing emotionally. So, if you're with like really unconscious, blah, 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 blah. Beautiful. They're in kindergarten. Honor that they're in kindergarten, and honor that that is a very necessary step for them to be on their journey. And then if you are not inspiring to a kindergartner, own that you might not be in 3rd grade. This brings me to part 2. If you are not feeling heard and appreciated, so I kind of talked about it as like, you might be, trying to heavy in the perfection realm. And so you're sort of like, pretending that you've already got it figured out, which is just going to create more shame and judgment. And so you're just like, okay, cool. I'm at 7th. Sweet. I'm at 7th. These are my people. I have found many, many people, especially in my own circle, actually have the exact opposite problem, where you are more of the college professor trying to talk to the 2nd grader and feeling very misunderstood. And so you think, oh my God, I'm not even at 2nd grade level. Like, these people don't even understand me. I must be so low. But it's actually the opposite, where it's like the thing that will finally help you feel seen and heard, maybe for the first time in your life, is honoring how much further along you actually are. And I know that's exactly the opposite thing that I just said, but everything, of course, is a duality. And both of those realities might be more real than the one that you're currently like pretending and confusing yourself to be. So, one of them, they're both based on lack of self-worth. Both of them are based on a level of shame. And the one that's the perfectionist, so, all of the people that are like, I'm amazing and I've sold all of this and I've figured all this out, and, you have all these things to learn from me. If that resonates, if they're resonating with people, then whatever level they're at, regardless of whether that's like, whatever, they're doing their thing. It's like no judgment. This is a massive, massive movement of Lightworkers to help as many people as possible. We have to get rid of this judgment about any of it. So wherever you're at, if you found people, cool, you're at your spot. Done. End of that topic. But this video is for the people that haven't found their people. If you haven't found your people yet, then the options are, 1, take a really solid look of where you're at and unshame everything that's in any sort of a perfectionist mindset still. Just like, done. Out the window. No shame. I am here. And be totally radically authentic with I am here. Like, I haven't figured out this at all. I've figured out like this, and this about this. And that's all I got so far. There will be people that are like, phenomenal. Thank you for being honest. I love that. That's exactly what I need to hear. Because basically, if you unshame yourself, you unshame them. And hence, you're inspiring to them. Okay. And then option number 2, which was actually the initial reason why I decided to make this video, because I feel like this is not a topic that's talked about very much, is if you're not resonating with people and you feel like you want to help and you're trying, but you're not quite sure how to do it, your self-worth might be at a space where you think that you're far lower than you are. So you're, in that analogy, you're the college professor teaching a 3rd grade class, and you're confused why none of your 3rd graders get what you're talking about. It's not that the 3rd graders are above you. It is that you need to massively, in the same way, look at where you really are at. Like, what are you actually resonating at? And it might be really uncomfortable to own that you might be a lot further along than most people in your group, because of course that creates like the isolation and the separation. But all of that's just an old paradigm, because the second that you resonate wherever you're at, honestly, authentically, wherever you're at, you call in your people. That is the homing beacon, or whatever that term is. Authenticity is the homing beacon. That is where you find not only like the people that you're meant to inspire, but also the people that are just your friends and your crew, your people, So if you're lonely, there's a part of you that's probably not being totally honest and authentic about something in your life. And it probably has something to do with there's a shame aspect involved, or there's a lack of self-worth aspect involved. And the more that you can just unshame everything, it helps you get to where you're supposed to be. And then you're able to see, like, okay, cool, I'm here. Like, this is exactly where I'm at. I've got all this figured out. I've got none of this figured out. Boom. That makes me whatever, freshman or something. But then if you claim that, and if you know that, then you not only get to like finally be useful to the people, if we're all light workers, we're all wanting to serve, you finally find your people. But in this whole other beautiful way, you also can more deeply find your mentors, because that's another thing that a lot of light workers are just like craving, is like, what do we do? Where do we go? I don't know what I'm doing, And it's like, of course, it's all internal. It's sort of the end all be all truth of anything that has to do with being a wayshower. It's all internal / higher self guidance. But you can find your people that are deeply resonant with you in an inspiring way. Again, if you own where you're at, like, again, that homing beacon thing, it's like it goes below and it goes above. Okay. So this video's kind of all over the place, but sum up, for anyone wanting to serve, that's finding, it's like you put out your website, but no one's coming to it, or like, you tried this, but it didn't work. Potentially, one of the things that is very likely that is happening with that is that there is an inauthenticity still happening in your own being that you're maybe not even conscious of, that has to do with you're feeling shamed about something, so you have to like pretend that you've already figured it out, kind of that perfectionistic, I have to be perfect, otherwise I'm not a healer kind of mindset, which is insane, because there's every level of healing. Like I was explaining, it's like the 3rd graders need to help the 2nd. And then, the college professors need to help the freshmen. It's like everyone has a space in this journey. And if we're only ever helped by absolute perfection, like, Christ or Buddha coming in however many thousands of years ago would have been all that we would have needed. It's like, okay, cool, perfect. There's perfection. Everyone now understands, and now we're complete. It's like we all need every single level of understanding of this journey. And so honor where you're at, so that way you can fulfill the role that you're here to fulfill in this moment. And then when you learn more, you go up a level, and you learn more and you go up a level, and your people shift and all that. So anyways, unshame yourself, get out of your perfection, so that you can be honestly, authentically where you're actually meant to be. And deeply check in with yourself about your self-worth and see if the reason why you're not resonating with people is because you think you're a lot smaller than you really are. And then that's naturally like confusing people. Because in the same way, think about it, like a college professor teaching a third grader, the third graders are going to be like, I don't understand. Like, why does this guy think I'm supposed to get this? Like, this is weird and uncomfortable. And, you know, I'm not going to bother with it. And that's probably the same reaction that you're getting, because these people are confused by your spiritual / emotional maturity. Because, you know, you think it's like, oh, that's just how we are. But it's not. You know, that's how this level is. That's how whatever level you're at is. And then all the levels below that aren't there yet. They don't know what that means. You know, to just use regular language with them is going to be intimidating and confusing, exactly the same way as if a college professor is trying to explain like physics to a second grader. The second grader is going to be like, what are you talking about? It's not your people to talk to, you know. It's like let people that are less far along and on this spiritual journey of whatever, let them be the ones that help them. So like an example, let's say that, you know, you've got some sort of like, I don't know, coworker or something that's just like horrendous with, I don't know, boundaries or something. I don't know. Some coworker that's horrendous with boundaries. If you're trying to be like, okay, so or maybe just communication in general, like someone who's really bad with communication. If you're trying to like explain to them like this really deep, like, okay, I'm going to be really vulnerable with you. I'm going to share my emotions with you. And, you know, here we go. We're going to like have this bonding moment. But that's like a pretty high level thing to know your emotions, be able to put words to your emotions, and then express your emotions to another person. If you're doing that to someone who still, like, emotions are just sort of this, like, scary, foggy thing that they just, like, don't want to deal with, you coming at them with that amount of clarity is going to just confuse them and intimidate them and make them want to leave. So if you're constantly running into situations like that, that's because you're not owning your actual level of, like, awareness that you have reached. And so you're not meant to be helping that type of person. So if you're in that situation, you're trying to have this like conversation about communication with this coworker, that's not your job. So like in that situation, you just say, hey, you know, we're not going to communicate anymore. You know, you move your desk, you just like, you acknowledge that that's not part of your realm. And instead you save that beautiful, authentic communication that you have learned for people that are within a resonance that actually relates to that. And then when you start communicating like that to them, to the people that, you know, maybe in this lower level of self-worth you think are like above you, you'll be amazed that you're like, oh my God, this works. Like all these things that I thought were just like, you know, like, oh my God, I'm just always doing this communication thing wrong. You're doing it beautifully. You're just doing it with the wrong people. That's kind of this really fascinating thing about this third dimension, especially as we're like kind of transitioning into these higher levels, is it's all about choice. Like, you know where you're at. Here is my bubble. And then you are like, okay, you fit into this. Beautiful. Yes. You don't fit into that. Beautiful. You live over there. I like this. I don't like this. This feels good. This doesn't feel good. And that's really this realm that we're moving into, is like, you get to do that. We are coming massively out of powerlessness and victimhood. You get to pick the people in your life, the feelings in your life, the situations in your life, who you inspire, who you're inspired by, all of those things. Yeah. So finding more of your authenticity, coming out of shame, is what's really going to be able to help you heal the people that you're meant to heal and be inspired by the people that you're meant to be inspired by currently in this moment, wherever you're at. And then just like the other point to kind of just throw in there as well, which I've mentioned already, but just to sum it up again, all are needed. It's not like in the analogy of the school. You know, once you get to college, it's not like, screw kindergarten, get rid of it. You know, we need to be just like, you know, we've we're beyond it or something. It's like in the journey of awareness, ascension, enlightenment, all of these things, whatever word you want to use for it, wholeness, whatever. Each stage does not actually go away in this like larger perspective. For you personally, you keep moving through, but you are integrating each one as you go. So it's not like you just, like you're in college, you're no longer needing the alphabet. You always need everything that you learn and everything. And this is where people get stuck in that first analogy that I gave of the perfectionist thing. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to be done with that. I'm supposed to be done with that. You're supposed to integrate it. So the lower things of like sadness and anger and loneliness and whatever, you're not supposed to be done with those. You're supposed to integrate them. So that supposed to. Look at me shooting. This is the journey. This is the ultimate journey. You can of course pick any journey that you want, but if you're on this particular journey of wholeness, you're integrating as you go. Kindergarten leads into first grade. First grade and kindergarten both lead into second. All three of those lead into third. All four of those lead into fourth. You just like gather as you go like a snowball. And so for lower emotions, it's not like you're ever meant to be done with them. You just get to choose how you use them. They leave these realms of like big, scary, overpowering things that just take you over, and instead just become tools in your toolbox. They become more neutral to you. And so if you want to be angry, which it's a lovely feeling to be angry sometimes, if you want to be angry, you can. And then you're angry. And then you move back into whatever feeling that's different. And then, if you want to be sad, you totally relish in the sadness. It's a beautiful feeling to just feel like, it's all a game. All of these are just different experiences of this third dimensional reality. So it's like, okay, I want to be sad right now. Enjoy it. Have every experience of the sadness, totally relish in it, and then just like do your thing afterwards, allow all of those things to just integrate. And then that's how you move up in authenticity. Nothing is off limits. It's just that all of those things become more and more and more in your control. Just like with language, you learn the alphabet, and then slowly over time, like you learn haikus and you learn, prose and da-da-da-da-da. Like you learn all these different things, and they just all become more and more complicated or like intricate or something as you go. So instead of it being this raw alphabet, you slowly start integrating them into different, more refined things. So you start with these very basic sad, anger, whatever, and then you slowly gather them together and refine them, maybe into like, a lovely bittersweet something at some point in time. Like, and that's, it's still sad, but now it's like this refined sadness, or, like the anger turns into like this wonderful feeling of like purge or something. Like you get to just like burn it away, or you get to like have a lovely confrontation. What a beautiful experience to be separate enough from someone to have a confrontation with them, from the source of ultimate experience. That's just like this super fun thing, to be so separate that you actually think that this person is different enough to be conflicting with you. Like, how fun, it's a cool thing. So anyways, that's where the no shame comes in. It's like no shame, all is needed. You're just integrating it as you go. Okay. I think that's it. I hope that was useful. I feel like that was kind of a big pile of stuff, but I just felt that was needed, because that's been coming up a whole bunch in my conversations with people of how to just be more useful. How we're all feeling called to be helpful, and we're all feeling called to serve. It's like, where are you getting stuck in your ability to serve? And I have found that those things, so you're either too perfectionistic, and so you're kind of propping yourself up to a spot that's not authentic. The opposite, your self-worth is keeping you below a spot that's authentic, or you're judging the journey of it all, and so you're like cutting out fundamental parts of this third dimensional reality, which is again keeping you from being integrated and in a deeper sense of authenticity with it all. Those three things are kind of the main blocks to you being able to really, really serve. And I deeply understand this because this has been the journey that I'm on, as all people who have any wisdom to share. It's like we're telling you our journey and what has worked for us. And those that resonate, those that are somewhere within the range that we are at, find comfort and validation and inspiration through that. And then those that are at a different stage don't, and that's beautiful. Honor the people that don't resonate with you. That is a beautiful journey. That's just a different game. And there's nothing wrong with that game. But you don't need to worry about any other game other than the game that you yourself are choosing to play. All right, I think that's it. Okay, hope that was useful. Talk to you soon.